Welcome, everyone. I'm Jill Hope, and I am so excited to be here with you all today to talk about the common denominators that I am seeing that is holding back their money flow. And this is such an important topic, and it's really important to me in my heart because I honestly feel that the more of us that are out there trying to share our message, getting our message heard, and making the impact that we know we are here to make, the better the world's going to be. If you have a message in your heart, whether it's something that you want to share in a book, or you want to coach someone through a challenge that you particularly relate to, or you've been through, or you have expertise to help someone in, if we're not getting that out there to people, we're not making the impact that we came here to make. And what I see happen with way too many people, and it was happening to me too, which is how I started to really pay attention to this issue, is that if we can't make money in our businesses, like let's say we have we're bold enough to really take the leap and we get out there and we start our business, right? But if in a short period of time, you're not able to start making money in that business, I mean, the alternative becomes at some point you have to give up. You have to quit and get a job again. And when we do that, we really let down ourselves, we let down our families, and we let down the world, at least the people that we were here to impact that are waiting for us. So I really feel like one of my biggest purposes is to help people really step into who they are meant to be, live in their higher purpose, get their message out there, and make money with it. Because let's face it, money doesn't create happiness, but we live in a 3D world right now. And so we need money to be able to afford to do the things that make our hearts sing, that make us come alive and be fully connected to who we are. So this isn't just about, let's get you all making money in your businesses. There's a deeper purpose and reason why I feel this is such an important issue, especially right now with everything going on in the world. We need people out there connected to their hearts and sharing their gifts with the world. But we need to make money in order to continue to do it. And that is the bottom line that we're dealing with right now. And that is what I'm going to be talking about over this 3-part series with all of you. So we're not going to take a long time in these. This is a lunchtime series, so I'm meaning for this to be a quick hit, to give you some key ideas to really chew on, to reflect on, and to consider. Over the course of these 3 sessions, I'm hoping that you start to see a little bit into where you might be getting stuck, where you might be holding back a little bit or a lot of it in terms of getting yourself out there. And if you don't have a business, if you're here and you're like, well, does this apply to me? If you are a conscious woman, and particularly if you are a mom, because moms have a whole separate set of issues, okay, which I'll be talking about, over the course of the coming days. But if you are a conscious spiritual woman, you have a message, or you just want to, maybe your purpose isn't necessarily to share it with others, but you have this higher purpose that you are connected to. And because of that, you have a vision. If you're not living that vision, if money is getting in the way of you living that vision, this is why the money piece is so important, because it can be our excuse not to live our vision. So if that is you, this still applies to you. I still want you to tune in, because what I'm sharing is fairly universal. And in fact, if you're a man, if you've got a partner that needs to hear this, by all means, bring them along, because this is universal information that can make a huge impact for you. Okay. So this are meant to be quick hits, no more than 30 minutes. Today, I might go a tiny bit longer because I want to sort of lay out as an introductory a message what this is all about, right? But I don't expect that will be longer than 30 minutes. I want it to be where you can sit down and you can have a snack or a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and just listen in and then get back to your day. All right. So today our whole session is about overcoming the traps that block your money flow. What are these traps? In order to tell you that, I need to talk a little bit about what my journey was. And many of you know this journey, but we have some new people that have opted in for this series. So I want to share quickly what my journey has been up to now with my business. So I'm actually on the second version, the second iteration of my business. I started back in 2008. I was working a corporate job at the time, making really good money. I had a small child, but I had this burning desire to create something more and to do something more with my gifts. I knew I wasn't being utilized in the way that I wanted to be, and I wasn't making the level of impact or even the type of impact that I wanted to make from my corporate work. And so I really wanted to branch out and do something that was much more aligned with who I am. And so I had struggles as a mom. And so what I learned from that and how I moved through that in my own family was what became my message at the time. And so I started my business, and initially, it was doing really well, to the point where I thought, okay, I'm going to take the leap of faith. I'm jumping out of my corporate job and I'm going full time in my business, iShine. And so I did that. And what happened was no sooner did I get out of my corporate job when things started to stall in my iShine business. And now, like, if that had happened in my corporate job, it wouldn't have been a big deal because I had the income and we needed my income. But now this was my income. iShine was my income. And if it didn't work, I was going to have to go back. So there was no way I was going to let that happen. So I put myself out there. I went all in, and I did some really cool things, in those earlier years. I was on a Fox morning news program. I sponsored numerous high-level events. Met a lot of interesting people doing that. I did keynotes. I got sponsored by, I had, local schools and things calling me, asking me, can we sponsor you? Excuse me. So I was really out there. I was the parent university speaker in the largest parent community in Chicago with over 5,000 parents. And it's probably like way more than that now. So I was getting myself out there, and my community was really growing. Not only, locally, but my community was growing across the globe. In fact, my first client was from South Africa. So I was putting myself out there and things were going well, but I would have these peaks and valleys. And if you're an entrepreneur, you know what I'm talking about. It's pretty common. You'll get a big influx of money, and then you'll go through periods where nothing much is coming. It's kind of a trickle. And that's fine. But when the peaks are smaller than the valleys are deep, and when the peaks are shorter than the valleys are long, that's when you get into trouble. And so that started happening for me, to where there were months where honestly, I didn't know, was I going to be able to pay stuff next month? And that was really scary. And I started to have to lean on credit card debt. And at the same time, I thought I need to figure out this problem because something's going on. Because I see a lot of people out there and they're having great success. And I know I can too. So I started hiring high-level coaches with really great reputations. And they were mega expensive. And I was doing this for a few years. And I would learn things and I would apply and I would get little upticks. Things would go good for a while, but they would always settle back down to this sort of mediocre place where I was kind of just, making it, but like there was no overflow. There was no abundance in my business. And finally I got to the point where I'm like, I think I'm going to have to quit. I don't think this is not sustainable. I can't do this anymore. And so I got to like my surrender point, my come to Jesus moment, right? Where I thought, okay, I give up, God. What do you want me to do? I don't know what to do. And I sat in this place of just complete surrender. not knowing what to do, not knowing how to get out of this big debt hole I was in, and not knowing how to get my message out there. And around that time, deep self-reflection, I had this discovery. And I'm not going to go talk about the whole process through which the discovery came, okay? But this discovery was so like mind-blowing to me. It's just mind-blowing because it was right in front of me the whole time. In fact, I had been having this voice whispering, in my head, just go within every day, nudging me, meditate, sit in the quiet, like listen in, listen. And what's so ironic when I look back on it now is that I'm so good at listening to my clients and like hearing between the lines and like really seeing what's going on for them. But I was terrible at listening to myself. And that was my biggest problem. And that is what I want to talk about today is the trap. Okay. It's a huge trap with little mini traps inside the big trap. So what do I mean by this? The big trap is this idea that when things are not working for you in your business, or when money is not flowing so you can live your bigger vision, right? Somewhere in that process of having the idea, feeling the vision, and then taking steps in that direction, somewhere in that process, you are not listening to yourself. You're listening. I was listening. I was listening to everybody outside of me, and I was listening to the voices in my head that were the loudest. And that's a trap I want to talk about today. We listen to everybody and every voice, but our own authentic and true voice. So I was in a place where I just thought, I was a good student. If you tell me what to do, I will do it. Do you know how many people sign up for programs that they never do? I was not one of those people. I did the program. I mean, I remember the first coach I ever signed up to work with, high level, she said to me, she's like, Jill, do you realize that there were 60 people in this program and you are the only one that ever did anything with it? I was kind of surprised that the percentage was that small, 1 out of 60. And it was an amazing program that she was doing. So I thought, I'll do whatever they tell me to do. Just tell me what's my problem and what do I need to do to fix it. And I was ready to go. And I would hire person after person and same thing. Tell me what to do. I'll do it. I'll fix it. Well, the problem with that is that they were telling me what they did. And they were looking at my business. They were definitely looking at my business. And then they told me how they would approach it if it was their business. Okay. Now I didn't see this at the time. It's only in retrospect I can see it so clearly now. If it was their business, this is how they would approach it. Well, guess what? They're not me. They're not me. And so what I had been doing all along was abdicating my own voice. That's right. I was betraying myself. I was literally betraying. I was spending tons of money thinking I was investing in myself, and yet I was betraying myself because I wasn't listening to my voice. And this is a huge message that you need to hear, because I am in no way saying that these I still work with some of these coaches, okay? They're amazing. But until you learn how to listen to yourself and tune into your true authentic voice, not the false voices, I'm going to talk about those in a minute, but until you listen into the true authentic voice within you, all of the stuff that anyone else is going to teach you is not going to work. Oh, you'll get the upticks. I would get little upticks. You see little things work, right? But to the degree with which you want them to work, not so much. You've got to get in tune with your voice first before layering that stuff on top. Since I've figured out that I've got to tune in to my voice and be completely connected with myself first before I go doing these other strategies that are all amazing, but not if you're not in tune with yourself. I did not know this when I worked with her. Now that I've known this, now that I have made some shifts and tweaks and changes within myself, I am now working with her again. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how things shift for me now that I'm tuned in. I've already seen massive shifts since I've tuned into myself and started listening to my own voice, because my income used to be like this from year to year. There wasn't, if you're in business, you want to see your business growing every year, right? That was not happening for me until I started to listen and connect with me, my true, higher, authentic self. Once I tuned in to my own authentic voice, and then did the strategies on top of it, the things that will grow your business, that is when I saw my business grow. And my business has been growing every year since 2019. Yes, I grew during the pandemic and I've been growing since then. And this was the thing that I changed. So that's why I'm so excited to talk to you about this today. Okay, so let's talk about the trap of not listening to your voice, of listening to everyone outside of you, okay? One of the ways that you will see this, and this is what I want to hopefully have you reflect on today before our next session on Thursday. One of the things I started to see is that when I realized I wasn't listening to myself, I thought, well, that's kind of weird because I hear a lot of voices in my head. I'm a very internal person in terms of, I do think a ton. I'm thinking all the time. And I would hear a dialogue all the time because, right, we all have a dialogue in our head 24/7. You can't really get away from it unless maybe if you're a monk, right? And all you do is meditate. But for the most part, that's a part of who we are. It's kind of how we tick. And so the problem with people who are not creating success in their business is they're listening to the wrong voice. They're listening to the people outside of them, as I mentioned, but they're also listening to voices in their heads that are not in alignment with their vision. And I call these voices the voices of self-betrayal. These are the voices that try to stop you. Now, why would you have voices in your head that would try to stop you from living what you want to live? Well, the truth is that it comes from your conditioned beliefs. And for most of us, now I'm not saying all of us, you might be the child of entrepreneurs, okay? But you're probably successful if you are. For most of us who grew up in a situation where our parents just did what all the other parents did, they went out, they had jobs, they worked, and they kind of followed the rules, so to speak. Well, we get those rules conditioned into us, and they don't often jive with our, what we really want to do with our vision. Those rules, in fact, can be opposing our vision, can contradict the vision even. And if you're a mom, which most of you probably are if you're listening to this, we have even more rules about what it means to be a quote unquote good mom, don't we? What society has put upon moms it's shameful, right? We're not supposed to have our own desires. We're supposed to be always focused on our children and their desires. And, I adore my son. I was very involved in him, partly because I afforded myself the luxury of time by stepping into my own business so that I had the flexibility to work around his schedule, which I did for probably 15 years. But I was still doing what I loved in my time. And I was still following my purpose. And I was using my gifts more than my motherly gifts. I was using other gifts within me. I was using all the gifts I had. And that is true fulfillment. And yet, how many moms do we see that are burning the candle at both ends? They're burnt out, they're exhausted, they just feel like empty shells. We see this all the time. I mean, I see this around me. I see moms like that. And it's really sad. But when you are connected to your purpose and your vision, and you're actually gifting yourself and giving yourself permission to do what lights you up, you're so fulfilled that that overflows into your family. Your children absorb that fulfilling energy, and they see what it means to be fulfilled, to follow your purpose, to live your dreams, and why it's so important. And at the end of the day, your kids want you happy. They want you happy. So the trap is when we don't listen to voices that support what we want to do, and instead we listen to the voices that stop us. And I want to give you some examples of what these voices of self-betrayal are. They're fairly insidious. They are related to our conditioned beliefs from our parents, from society, from the church we go to, from the media. We're constantly bombarded with what we're supposed to do. Supposed to in air quotes, right? What it means to be a good person. But none of that takes into account that we're all unique, and we all have our own desires, and we all have our own set of unique gifts to share and our own purpose that we came here to live, okay? So how does this show up? Well, one of the voices of self-betrayal that is so strong in women, especially moms, is the voice of shoulds and shouldn'ts. This is that voice that dictates what a good mom should do and what a good mom shouldn't do, right? Good moms aren't supposed to spend time on what's important to them. They need to focus their attention on their children, okay? We talked about that quite a bit already. But when you listen to that voice of shoulds and shouldn'ts, when you're making decisions about your business, this is when you get into trouble. This is when you make decisions that actually are not bringing you the financial results you want. And you don't even see it because you think you're doing what you quote unquote should do, right? So we really need to notice when that voice of shoulds and shouldn'ts is coming into play and ask ourselves, is this voice supporting my business? Is it going to help me to be successful in my business or not? If the answer is no, then you don't want to have anything to do with whatever that voice is telling you to do. And you want to connect instead with the voice of your true self, because that's what's going to lead you to take the actions that will result in the financial success that you desire. So you can keep doing this and live in your dreams. Now, another voice is the voice of perfectionism. Having everything has to be perfect before you can take a step forward. Who relates to that one, right? Like you got to get your website done before you can actually reach out and tell people what you're doing. You know, do you realize that in the 80s, 90s, 70s, you know, in that era, there was no internet and people still had businesses and they were still very successful and nobody had a website. And yes, I know things have changed. Now everyone has a website. Yes, but it doesn't mean you cannot reach out to people and find clients until your website's done. We don't have to be perfect before we take action. That is a lie. That is a lie of your subconscious mind to keep you safe and keep you from growing. And I'm not going to go into the subconscious mind today, but I talk in a lot more detail about how this actually works in our upcoming Mompreneur Money Breakthrough Retreat, which I do want to take a minute to share with you before we wrap up here today, because it really is a powerful step to allow you to start listening to the voices of your true authentic self and start taking the actions that are aligned with your business. Because the only reason you are not creating the money you want is you're not doing the things that create the money you want. You're listening to the wrong voices, okay? So we talked about the voice of shoulds and shouldn'ts. We talked about the voice of perfectionism. How about the voice of credibility? Ooh, this is a big one. I see this with clients all the time. They've got to take yet one more program. They've got to get yet one more certification. There's always one more that they have to do before they can start putting their sign up and saying, I'm open for business. This is a sister of perfectionism. It's an offshoot. It's another version of having to be perfect. And really that comes from feeling like a fraud. Feeling like a fraud is so common for mompreneurs. You know, we fall into self-doubt. We're kind of like, can I really do this? Like, I was great at my corporate job, but do I really have what it takes to run this business and be successful? I mean, I haven't been doing this very long. Will anyone take me seriously? Am I good enough? These are some of the things that come up for so many mompreneurs, and you may have thought these things as well. All those things I just said, those are the voices of self-betrayal. None of those voices, that doubt, questioning yourself, is going to move you into the space of making decisions that will support you. Instead, it will move you into the space of making decisions that will sabotage you. And you won't even be aware of it. And then you'll wonder why things aren't working, why those strategies you learned from the coach didn't work for you. So the big trap that you want to look out for is the voice in your head that tells you how you can't, how you shouldn't, how you're not good enough, how you don't have enough certifications. All of those voices are out there trying to stop you. Now, again, why would they try to stop you? Your subconscious is designed to keep you safe. It's programmed to move you through life safely until you get to your death. And it's a good thing. I mean, we are lucky we have a subconscious mind that can, it's what beats our heart. It's what allows us to drive from point A to point B when we zone out. It takes over. It actually is a super helpful part of who we are. But where the subconscious mind can really not support you is if you have any limited conditioning, limited beliefs, and then you're trying to make a change in your life, even if it's a positive change. Because the minute the subconscious mind sees that you are starting to think about some different things, that you're trying to make some new decisions and go in a new direction, it thinks, alert, alert, we need to stop her. This looks scary. And it kicks into high gear. And it sends you all of these voices of self-betrayal, trying to get you to listen and make decisions that will not move you out of the situation you're in and create the change you desire. So that's kind of what's going on. There's a lot more to it that I want to share in our retreat, but that gives you a little flavor of what's going on there and why it's happening. So how do you break out of this trap and be willing to listen to a different voice? Well, you have to, first of all, stop giving those voices so much power, because those voices have no place in running a financially successful business. And the truth is that all conscious mompreneurs have these voices of self-betrayal, but they don't run the show for everyone. Successful mompreneurs know how to act in spite of these voices. So what can you do as a conscious spiritual mompreneur who wants to live her dreams and make good money in your business so you can create the lifestyle you crave for yourself and your family? Well, this is something that requires a much deeper dive, and I'm going to be doing that in our upcoming Mompreneur Money Breakthrough Retreat. But I do want to give you a really great first step now. And this actually is essential to do first anyways. So this is where you want to start. And if you want to take it to the next place, the retreat is going to get you there. But as a first step, I'd like you to reflect on all the reasons why you are not creating financial success in your business. You want to just get out a list, just bullet list these things. Make a bullet list. And then the second part of it is, once you get your list of all the reasons why you think you aren't creating the financial success that you desire in your business, you want to ask yourself, for each of the reasons you listed, what story am I telling myself about this excuse I'm using here, this reason? What story am I telling myself about this that keeps me stuck or that keeps this obstacle in my life? Those two questions together are going to help you create a conscious awareness around what is going on in your head when you're making decisions in your business. You absolutely need a conscious awareness of a problem before you can change it, because otherwise it's like you're throwing spaghetti at the wall, not knowing what to change. And in our upcoming retreat, you're going to actually see very clearly how you're stopping yourself. So you know exactly how to target in the solution. And I'm also going to give you the solution in the retreat as well. But to start, you want to start getting that conscious awareness. Start listening and noticing what voices you're listening to in your head. Do you have a lot of shoulds and shouldn'ts coming in? Do you have to be perfect? Do you feel like a fraud in your business? Even just a tiny bit can make a huge impact. So start seeing what are the voices that are showing up for you. And there's many others. So I may have not mentioned some that you are feeling, but we're going to go through them all in the retreat. But start noticing what is coming up for you, because your results are the effect of things that you do, of decisions that you make, and of actions that you take. So if the decisions you've been making and the actions you've been taking are not bringing you the financial results you want, that's where you need to make a change. But what to change, that's what we need more clarity on. So this is a great first step to get some consciousness around that. Now, I've mentioned our retreat several times. I want to just take a minute or two as we wrap up today. Yes, today's session's a little bit longer as we're getting into these 3 parts over the next few days. But I want to talk about the retreat briefly. So what this is it's a virtual retreat. So yes, you can just be in the comfort of your home. You don't have to travel and pay travel expenses or anything like that. It's happening Friday and Saturday, October 21st and October 22nd. It's a 2-day virtual retreat for conscious spiritual mompreneurs who want to create consistent money. So not so many peaks and valleys, more of a consistent flow, doing work that you love, work that you're passionate about, work that you know is your purpose and uses your gifts. Yes, we can make really good money living in our purpose, sharing our gifts, and impact the world. We absolutely can. And so I want to show you how, and this retreat is going to take you through numerous processes that will help you get the breakthrough you need. Because honestly, if things are not working for you, a breakthrough is required. You need a breakthrough. You absolutely need a breakthrough, right? To be able to move through the other side. Something big, you've got to have a big awareness, a big aha to be able to move through it. So what specifically are we covering in the 2-day retreat? We're going to talk about the mindset tips that will shift you from wondering where the next client's going to come from to taking the actions that will have new clients asking and possibly begging to work with you. Since I made these changes, that is basically how I get new clients now. I just do my thing. I make my videos and I write my emails and my articles, and people just reach out to me and ask me if I will coach with them. This did not happen, or very little. It did happen a little, but much to a lesser degree before I got in tune with my true, authentic voice and stopped paying so much attention to those voices of self-betrayal. You will also learn in the retreat the secret ingredient for effortless success. This is a game changer. I'm also going to give you my signature 5-part blueprint to unleash your voice and create more money, more fulfillment, more flexibility, and more fun in your purpose-driven business. This is the meat and potatoes right here about getting in tune with your voice. I'm going to share what this blueprint is in the retreat. I'm also going to give you the missing link that attracts the consistent clients and money you crave in your business. Yes, there's something we've all been missing that actually allows that to happen. And I'm going to talk about the 8 to 10 voices of self-betrayal. So what we're talking about today, but in more detail, much more detail actually, and how you can actually overcome them so your business can thrive. You're experiencing the first step on this today already. You're getting conscious awareness of what those voices are in your head, but we're going to take it to the next level in the retreat. You'll also discover where you're stopping yourself from abundantly receiving in your business. When you can stop the self-sabotage, you can start making more money. If you've ever wondered, do I have a block around receiving? This is what you're going to discover, where you're actually stopping in the process. And then finally, we'll give you the roadmap that will lead you on the path to create the consistent money you dream of. So that's what the 2 days will look like. And the last time I did a retreat, I did a 1-day retreat, and I charged $250. It was an amazing retreat. The feedback was just incredible. People had many huge ahas. And so when I was pricing this one, I'm like, well, this is a 2-day retreat. They're going to have twice as many ahas. I should price it at $500. But I'm not doing that, at least not initially. I am doing an early bird offer. It's an early bird enrollment price of just $97 for the full 2 days. That price is expiring next week. After I do this 3-part series, that price is gone. And then the price will be going up until we get to the retreat date. It will go up and up and up, because really I should be charging $497 for what I'm going to be teaching you all. But at the same time, I want to get as many people who need this to be able to experience it. So for the best price, come in now at $97. Okay. This will just be available for a few more days until we get through this 3-part series. So you can enroll at ishinewealth.com/MMB retreat. MMB stands for Mompreneur Money Breakthrough Retreat, all one word. ishinewealth.com/MMB retreat. And that is where you can check out what we're covering in the retreat. You can see the hours that this is running, and you can grab your spot while it is at the early bird price. All right. I also have a really cool thing to offer, because retreats, I think, are more fun. Even when they're virtual, they're more fun with a friend. So when you enroll and you bring a friend who also enrolls, both of you will receive a Sacred Money Archetype personal reading from me. That is $197 value for each of you. And you'll both get that for free just for enrolling and coming to the Mompreneur Money Breakthrough Retreat. Okay. So do you have a biz bestie you can bring? Do you have an assistant you want to bring? Do you just have a friend who you think could use some help with their money situation? This is, I hope you see this as just a super fun bonus and a fun offer to make to your friend as well. So again, you get that automatically when your friend signs up and you sign up. You just need to email me and let me know, hey, I just signed up and here is my friend's information. They just signed up too. And you'll get a link to schedule your free Sacred Money Archetype reading with me. Again, that's $197 value. So that's what I have to offer you with regard to the retreat. Now, as we wrap up today, I just want to remind you that we all have these voices of self-betrayal flying around in our heads 24/7. Now, is it always a self-betrayal voice? Is it ever positive? Absolutely, it's positive at times. But how you know if you're being driven by the voices of self-betrayal is if you are not creating the results that you want. That tells me right there that something is off, because you should be able to set a goal in your business and meet it. If that's not happening, something is out of alignment. And the first place to look is to see what are the voices in your head that you're actually listening to, that you're actually allowing to dictate decisions you're making in your business. Because I guarantee you in there is a huge nugget of awareness and a big aha for you. So that's the first place to look. I hope you do take those self-reflection questions seriously, reflect on them, and then I want to see you come back here on Thursday for part 2, when we're going to talk about your biggest money blind spot. This is juicy. You definitely want to be here on Thursday, okay? We're going to pick up where we left off today, and we're going to take it further on Thursday. So thank you for joining me today. Thanks for hanging in a little bit longer. Thursday will be a shorter session. We won't have to cover all the intro stuff. I look forward to seeing you then. And if you have any questions in the meantime, or you have questions about the retreat, feel free to reach out to me at jill@ishinekids.com. Thank you so much for being here and listening, whether you're here live with us or you're listening to the recording. And I will see you again on Thursday.